Hello, greetings, and salutations. Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travels. I'd like to thank you for tuning into this week's episode. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience visiting the Virginia Tech Hokies, college football team that I saw some years ago back in 2021. Before I get into telling you about that experience, I'd like to go over just a little housekeeping. If you would like to go on vacation, specifically a cruise, which is my specialty, or if you'd like to go see a game, such as the Virginia Tech Hokies, and you want to reach out to me, you could do so in a couple of different ways. One way is through social media. I have both an Instagram and Facebook handle. It is Jay's Paradise Travels. That is Jays. There's no apostrophe in there. Make it easy for you. Jay's Paradise Travels. You can look me up on social media and reach out to me that way. Or you can email me. My email address is j.paradise.travels@gmail.com. Again, that's j.paradise.travels@gmail.com. You can reach out to me through that way as well. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and start talking about my experience with the Virginia Tech Hokies. Again, this was back in, I want to say 2021. It was in 2021. And we were still kind of like coming off of COVID at this time. And in fact, me and my wife and my parents had gone on a cruise. It was my first time going on a cruise since COVID had hit. And just a different experience. We were on the Carnival Mardi Gras, which I'll have to talk about in another podcast. We were able to go on that cruise, and we had come in and out of Port Canaveral, and from there we were staying with family. We were able to borrow a family's vehicle, and when we got back in on a Saturday, me and my dad went up and saw the Florida Gators, and then the next day we went and saw the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'll have to talk about those in other podcasts as well. And then from there, maybe a day or two later, we were planning on going home. My parents ended up going home, but at the time, I still had flying benefits from working at the airline, and I was not. It was like a seasonal job at the time, so I was off for the season, and I still had a little bit of time left that I could travel. So me and my wife ended up, instead of going home with my parents back up to Detroit, Michigan, we ended up going to visit my father-in-law who lives in Virginia. He initially, I met my wife. She was living in California. My father-in-law during COVID had ended up moving to Virginia. He's originally from the East Coast. He lived in New York growing up. So he wanted to kind of get back to the East Coast. And so he ended up moving to Virginia. Well, during that time, it was COVID. We never got to visit or see him when he had moved to Virginia. And so it was our first time going to go see him since he had moved. And we weren't too far from there. So we hopped on a plane. We were able to get over to see him there in Virginia and spend some time with him. Well, while there, I looked up the schedule, and the Virginia Tech Hokies were playing. They were playing the Pittsburgh Panthers. And so, of course, with me and my hobby, I wanted to be able to go to a game. This was one of those trips that I got to experience both a cruise and sports games. In fact, this is probably the most sports games that I saw combining with the cruise, because there was two football games right after the cruise, and then the weekend after that, got to go see another football game, um, which was, to me, yeah, that's like a perfect vacation for me. Anyway, so we get to Virginia, and we stay with him, get to see his new place, and Virginia, kind of a little bit more in the country area. I mean, there are cities that are there too, but where he's at anyways is more the country area. And so he let me borrow his vehicle. I got to travel out to Virginia Tech, and as I'm going to Virginia Tech from where he is, I want to say it's a good anywhere between an hour to 2 hours away. I don't think it was quite 2 hours, maybe like hour and a half, something to that effect. But anyways, I'm going up and down throughout hills, mountains, whatever they were, just one road, one lane road kind of thing going all over the place, zigging and zagging all over. It was an interesting drive, that's for sure. It wasn't just like get on the highway, go there, poof, you're there. This was in and around mountains, valleys, whatever they were. I don't even know. Very scenic and very pretty to look at, but a little different. And when you kind of do those type of drives, so I am used to being at least suburb city area. I'm used to seeing gas stations all over the place, places to eat. When you're kind of out in the country or the mountains, the hillsides, those stops can be few and far between. And then you get nervous a little bit, like, all right, do I have enough gas? Do I have enough to eat? Do I have enough? At least I was, anyways. But it's still a very pretty scenic drive. And then when I got there, um, it, where I came in, I mean, I'm just seeing open fields and what looks like just kind of in the middle of nowhere in the countryside type of thing. And I'm like, okay, well, some are like that. I know working at Michigan, that's right in the middle of a bunch of houses and buildings and everything. It's in a city, but then I've gone also out to like Penn State and Penn State, which I haven't done a podcast on them yet. I'll have to, but they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. So some colleges, some stadiums, they are right in amongst a lot of things, almost like in a city, and then other colleges are kind of in the middle of nowhere. It is what it is. So driving up there, I'm thinking, okay, I guess this is more of the middle of nowhere type of college. But again, Virginia's got a lot of country, from my understanding of it. Anyways, so I'm going there, and I don't feel like there's a ton of roads or anything. There's maybe one or two, and I'm trying to find parking, having difficulty finding parking. I asked, I think it was like an officer or a traffic cop, traffic guard, I don't know, whoever he was, and they pointed me one way. So I go that one way on that one road. I bypass the stadium, and I keep going and going. I think I went over maybe some bridge or something like that, or underneath a bridge. I don't know. Kept going. Finally found some parking, like amongst someone's. It was either a house or dorms or I don't know. Someone lived there, and they were kind of like renting out their space in their yard type of thing, and ended up paying like $50. And at the time, it's like, I mean, I know that probably is kind of standard nowadays, but just it seemed so high. I'm like, I didn't even pay this much for the football ticket. $50 for parking. Whatever. You may hear that, and you might think to yourself, that is way too much to have to spend on parking. And I would agree that parking shouldn't have to be that expensive. And some of you might be thinking, oh, that's nothing. I have to pay 75 or 100 every time I go to see this team, this game, whatever. It is what it is with parking nowadays. Anyway, so at the time I had to pay $50 for it. Wasn't too thrilled, especially since, again, I didn't even pay that much for the ticket. Oh, well, whatever. Anyways, I walk inside and I'm kind of walking. It didn't quite, it wasn't raining at the time, but I think it kind of rained before. So I felt like I was walking through like a wet, muddy type of, it was kind of wet and muddy to walk up there, the sidewalk and everything. But I eventually did get there. It wasn't too long of a walk. I want to say maybe not even a mile away. Um, and so I got there, was able to attend the game, obviously. And then afterwards, when I came back, it was easy to make my way back, even though it was darker at the time. I still was able to make my way back okay. And I get into the car and start driving. I put on my GPS, put in my father-in-law's address, and it doesn't take me back the way that I came in. It takes me another way. So, all right. So instead of turning right, or I would have gone back the other way, I turned left, and maybe a mile away or so, I'm on this big main road that has a ton of businesses on it. I'm like, oh, okay. So this isn't completely in the middle of nowhere. This does have some stuff around it. Uh, okay, that's good. um, Not that I needed to stop anywhere, but good to know that I wasn't in the middle of nowhere. Anyways, and while I was there, oh, and so as I mentioned, it must have rained beforehand. It didn't quite rain when I was there, which was good, but I did kind of get on a little bit of a colder side, and I was thinking Virginia South um, would probably be more hotter, especially since the weekend before I was in Florida. And the game that I saw, the Florida Gators and the Jacksonville Jaguars were extremely hot games. Um, and I'm thinking Virginia maybe was kind of similar. And I just got off a cruise, so I didn't have like a lot of cold weather type of clothes on me. And even the shirt I'm wearing right now, I just got for the podcast and a long sleeve, but I didn't have this back then. So I'm in a t-shirt and shorts, and and the temperature drops, especially as it gets later on in the day. And my sister-in-law, who's this small little petite person, had some sort of like little sweater kind of thing in the back, a shawl. I don't even know what you want to call it. Anyways, I grabbed that when I parked. I grabbed it just in the chance that I may need it. And I'm glad I did because I did need it. And I didn't put it over my shoulders like I was wearing it. I kind of like put it around me like as if it was a blanket. And it provided a little bit of warmth, which was good. It was better than nothing. Um, as I'm sitting there just kind of like huddled under this thing as the temperature had dropped. And so I probably looked so stupid and foolish. And people at the game were next to me probably was looking at me like, who is this guy? What is he doing? This guy looks like an idiot. But I didn't care. It was at that time I needed some kind of warmth with it, and that's what I that's what I used. All right, so that was my experience with it. Now the game itself, I was kind of excited to see Virginia Tech, based on their history that growing up of what I've seen, and I'll mention that a little bit later about their history. But I was excited to see them for the first time, um, because they have a program that has had some winning season in the past and had some success in the past. But things do change. Anyway, so they were playing the Pittsburgh Panthers, who I'd seen before. Again, I'll have to do a podcast on them one day as well. They were playing the Pittsburgh Panthers, and Pittsburgh was actually really good that season. I guess Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech both, they have their up and down. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not. That's good. And, it is what it is. But that year, Pittsburgh was pretty good, and Virginia Tech was like, okay. Um, so I go to the game, and Kenny Pickett, who's done a little bit in the NFL, he was the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh Panthers. He starts out the game by throwing a touchdown pass to Gavin Bartholomew. I love that name. That's an awesome name, Gavin Bartholomew. To start off the scoring at 7-0 in the first quarter, Pittsburgh has the lead. Going into the second quarter, they added to it. Pickett had a couple touchdowns. He ran for one touchdown, which I may have gotten on video. I can't remember. I remember getting something on video. I tried my best to get a touchdown video. Not that I'm going to be adding it to the podcast, like I did when I initially started the podcast and I tried putting videos on. But I'll try. I was thinking of starting to put some of these videos just in separate um, things on my channel and see what happens with that. Well, anyways, I think I got a video of one of the touchdowns, and it may have been him. He ran for a touchdown, and he also passed for a touchdown to Jared Wayne. And next thing you know, at halftime, it's 21-0, and I'm like, okay, all right, I don't know if this is going to be much of a game, and it wasn't. Third quarter happened, they just added to it. Another touchdown run made it 28-0. Now Virginia Tech did finally get on the board in the third quarter with a 2-yard touchdown pass, and they made it 28-7. All right, good for them. They got on the board. They broke the shutout at least, and that was it. And so fourth quarter, there was no scoring in the fourth quarter, so the final ended up being 28-7. Pittsburgh beat Virginia Tech in that game. Since then, this past previous season, I'm recording this in July of 2025, and last year I went and saw the Stanford Cardinals. I have a podcast on that. Feel free to check that out. And who did they play that day? They played the Virginia Tech Hokies, and in that game, Virginia Tech did win. So I've seen them win a game, and I've seen them lose a game. This was my first time seeing Virginia Tech. This was in their home field, and they lost that one 28-7. Speaking of their home field, their stadium that they play in is called Lane Stadium. I haven't looked up to see who or what Lane is. Is it a person? Is it an alumni of some kind? Someone that had some significance in Virginia? No idea. And if you're a Virginia Tech fan and you want to let me know, feel free to put it in the comments. I guess I could Google it. Um, I did type in Lane Stadium to just get the attendance or the capacity that it had, but I don't recall seeing why it was called Lane Stadium. Hmm. Yeah. So if you're a Virginia Tech fan and you know why it's called Lane Stadium, feel free to put it in the comments. I'd love to learn. Anyway, so they play in Blacksburg, Virginia. Um, and from the little bit that I got to see, seems like a nice little town. The capacity, as I mentioned, that I looked up is 66,233. Decent amount stadium. Definitely not the smallest stadium in the world and not the largest stadium in the world, but a decent size for a team that is kind of like that. Sometimes they have good years, sometimes they don't have good years. So it kind of does fit. The attendance that I looked up, it said it was 58,314 that day, and I do feel like that was kind of about right. As I looked around, I did see a pretty full crowd, but then there were some areas that I saw some they didn't have anyone there. I remember looking to my right, and I think where I was at, I was on like if you were looking at the TV, the you could see the logo was facing you. It's your front and center, that type of thing. Not that I was at the 50-yard line, but I was on that sideline. And as I looked to my right and saw that they had the student band over there, maybe in the student section, but on top in the second um, level, that was a little bit more emptier. So the 58,000 did seem about right to me. And nice enough stadium as I walked up to it, and I took some pictures going up to the stadium. It's got some nice trees around it. Had a very slick look on the outside, nice clean slick look. It wasn't your typical brown brick that I've seen in other places, more of a gray kind of look, but it looked very nice, very clean. Um, and I saw where the stadium sign is, Lane Stadium, but I also saw the VT in it as well. And I just thought it looked kind of nice on the outside, a little unique with that kind of grayish look as opposed to maybe brown as a lot of other colleges. I came in on one of the end zone. It's kind of split. There's some openings there. It's not like a complete round bowl. Behind me, I was on the side that had the press box, big press box behind me. But on the other side, it was kind of just one big long stand. I guess you could say the stands are on the other side. Um, Kind of reminded me when I went to Central Michigan, where on the one side had stands, but it was built on a hill. This wasn't necessarily built on a hill, but I'm just saying that was it. There was no, I don't believe there was a press box on the other side of where I was sitting. Um, just the stands itself. So kind of a cool stadium to be a part of to go see a game at. So just some miscellaneous notes in regards to Virginia Tech and the stadium and everything. So um, as regards uh, the game day experience, I think one of the things that's kind of cool, that's unique that they do when and everyone's got their own like ways of doing this, but when the team comes out, they have, I guess you could say, a tradition that something that they do is they play the song "Enter Sandman" from Metallica, and the players are like at a, I guess their locker room I think is like a little bit outside of the stadium, from what I recall. I could be wrong on that, but I could have swore like it was kind of outside, and they make like this long walk and they come in all together onto the field. And I was able to get a video of that as well. Again, I got to start seeing if I could just post these videos separately. These videos that I take both at games and on cruises. Um, Instead of you could so you could actually see it as opposed to me just telling about it and describing it. Anyways, so they do that. They're the only ones that I know that bring the team in under the song "Enter Sandman" from Metallica, and the crowd is really into it. And I remember being there with that crowd being into it and feeling like, okay, this is a pretty good electrifying atmosphere. And so I'm thinking to myself, if you're a road team, if you're a fan that's coming on the road, that could be a little intimidating, even though the stadium's not maybe 80, 90, 100,000 people, 66, or, in this case, it was 58,000. But still, you have that electrifying atmosphere, which I always love. And I was into it, thinking like, all right, this could be good for them. But didn't matter to Pittsburgh. They came out. Pittsburgh was just a better team that year, better team that day, that's for sure. And then touchdown, 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 21-0 at halftime, and Virginia Tech couldn't come back. But that atmosphere of the game, I liked. So definitely good on them. They also, as is most of the time, during breaks and commercials, they got stuff on the scoreboard, and they had like these fun fact trivia things going on. And okay, and because it was so long ago, I don't remember the exact number of it and what the exact trivia was, but I remember just reading on there them talking about how much farmland and I think chickens that are in Virginia. And it is like the most out of the country kind of thing, or something. It was some. again, it was too long ago for me to remember the exact thing, but it was just something that stood out like, wow, okay, I guess I didn't think of that, but I guess that is the case. And even their name is the Virginia Tech Hokies, which I'll be honest, I don't even know what a Hokie is, but their mascot is some sort of bird. I don't know if it's a turkey or a rooster or whatever they are. Again, if you're a Virginia Tech fan, feel free to leave it in the comment. Whatever a Hokie is, that's some kind of bird. But so they had that like up there on the scoreboard, that trivia, the fact about the country, how much country and farmland there is in Virginia, and I think the chickens. Is it a chicken? Is it in the chicken family? I don't know. Again, if you're a Virginia Tech fan, feel free to let me know what a Hokie is because I don't know what the blaze they are. And I mean, I just accept the fact that that's the team's name and that's their mascot. And it's got like this little thing under its neck, so I'm kind of guessing it might be like a turkey. But again, I don't know. So, but I thought it was interesting that they had that stat, that trivia fact uh, up there. I was like, all right, cool, good for Virginia. Um, I know I've mentioned before in my previous podcast before one of my best friends who lives in Virginia, very far away from where my father-in-law is, so I didn't get to see him, but he is a Virginia Tech fan. When I met him years ago, living in New York, when I was like 19 years old, and he was around the same age. Um, I remember him coming over to my place. We got to watch a Michigan game, and we had a lot of other stuff in common. And he was happy to root for Michigan with me. And even as years have gone on, and I worked for Michigan, and he's always very happy for me with anything Michigan does. He kind of roots for him, almost like a second team. But he is a Virginia Tech fan. I would have loved to have gone the game with him, but just I think with work and just his life and schedule. It didn't work out. And so maybe I'll get to catch a Virginia game with him one day because I still have to go see the Virginia Cavaliers, even though that's not his team. But he said he would be willing to go to that with me. He'd be happy to go to any game with me. He's the type that also likes to go see the smaller schools too. So he would like closer to where he lives. He would see Old Dominion or Norfolk State or maybe some other teams that are on the smaller side. Uh, that he would go to those games. I don't necessarily go out of my way to see those games anymore. If somehow I'm around it and it's there, okay, fine. But to go purposely for it, not what I do. So I will purposely go down to try to see a Virginia Cavalier game, and hopefully when I do, he'll get to see it. But he didn't get to go with me. However, that is his favorite team is Virginia Tech Hokies, and even despite that, I still don't know what Hokie. I've never asked him. It never comes up. We'll talk some sports, but we'll also talk life stuff too when we actually do get to speak on the phone. He's my one of my best friends. That is, even if I don't talk to him every day or every week or maybe even every month, maybe it's once every few months that I get to speak to him. But it's like we pick up where we left off, and we're very comfortable with each other that we can tell each other anything, have any conversation, and no one's getting upset, offended, or anything that or embarrassed. We have that type of friendship. Um, yeah, and so yeah, Virginia Tech's his favorite team. So shout out to my friend Lawrence and this podcast with him and his favorite team that I'm talking about my experience with. Wish he could have been there that day, but oh well. And another thing with I remember with Virginia Tech back in the late '90s when I started getting into college football in the late '90s. They were always around, and I always knew that Michigan was like the home team and the team that I would root for. But I wasn't diehard quite yet. I was more diehard Red Wings, Lions, Pistons, Tiger. Um, it was in the '97 season that hanging out with a friend of mine, who him and his family were big diehard Michigan fans, hanging out with them during the '97 season when they actually won the title. That's when I started really getting into it, and from there, it just kind of built uh, the fandom as time went on. So that's kind of when I got into it. But around that time, that late '90s, early 2000 era, Virginia Tech was a really good team. They had their coach Frank Beamer, who I think's son coaches now. I think is his son coaching South Carolina at the moment. Um, I think I think they're related. I think there is a Beamer that at the moment, again, July 2025, coaches South Carolina Gamecocks. Again, another bird type of thing. Um, if they are related, man, they must really like the teams with birds. Oh. Anyways, and I've seen them too. I'll have to talk about them in another podcast as well. But Frank Beamer, he was the coach, and he did a pretty good job with them. Even took them, I believe, to the national championship game against Florida State back in '99, I think it was. And they had Mike Vick. Now, you may have your personal feelings on Mike Vick with the whole dog fighting thing. Uh, what your personal feelings are of him as a man, that's up to you. But he played at Virginia Tech and was a legend there. He took them to a national championship game. Lost. I mean, they got smoked by Florida State, but Florida State was rolling pretty good back then. And now, this was back then. Virginia Tech was in the Big East Conference, and that's gone, and got kind of everyone got split apart there. And Virginia Tech ended up getting into the ACC conference, which is where they're currently at now. Currently, who knows as time goes on, all the changes that's been going on with college football, what will happen. But at the moment, currently, they're in the ACC conference, and so is Florida State. So what was that national championship game back in? I want to say it was '99. It could have been 2000, but I think it was 1999. I think 2000 came like the Oklahoma era. Yeah. Anyways, uh, but now what used to be the national championship game is probably just like a yearly game. Virginia Tech and Florida State, or at least every couple of years, however the scheduling goes for the ACC. But I remember that, and Mike Vick was a great player for Virginia Tech and helped them to get to that point. Later on, I think his younger brother even played there too. I believe he did. I think he was Marcus Vick, if I remember correctly. I don't think he did as much as Mike Vick did, both in college and in the NFL. But if I remember correctly, he was there. I could be wrong on that. Maybe he played for someone else, but I could have swore he had a younger brother named Marcus Vick that also played for Virginia Tech. And then lastly, one other little memory with Virginia Tech that I have is that so when me and my wife got married, um, within that first year of our marriage, we ended up. That's when we started working for the University of Michigan at their football games. And that was at the time the head coach for Michigan. His name was Brady Hoke, and that was his first year. His first game was our first game. His first year, our first year. His first game, our first game. Anyways, his first year was his best year that he had. I think he went 10-2, went to a bowl game and won a bowl game. Well, the bowl game that he went to in that first year was against Virginia Tech. From my recollection, I believe that is the first and only matchup between Michigan and Virginia Tech, if I remember correctly. They went into that bowl game, and Virginia Tech, I think the quarterback was it Logan Thomas? That name I think sounds familiar. Who I think when he eventually got into the NFL, he even played for the Lions. I think he like went from quarterback to tight end, and I could be wrong. Anyways, but he was their quarterback, which I think was him, was giving Michigan fits all game, kind of back and forth, back and forth. Uh, but Michigan ended up going in overtime, and I can't remember who. I kind of turned it off. I just was getting a little frustrated, a little whatever. I turned it off, and next thing I know, not too long later, Lawrence, my best friend, texts me, and I'm thinking, is he texting me to gloat? I don't know, but he was actually. It was almost like a congratulations and what a incredible way that Michigan won the game. And there was some sort of like incredible catch, and the defender missed him, and the wide receiver ran for a touchdown. It was either to tie the game or win the game. I can't remember. So it was so long ago, and I think I did put it back on to see what happened, but I haven't watched that bowl game in like forever. So, but Michigan did win that game in overtime. Uh, and Lawrence it wasn't like he was in a bad mood. I was more in a bad mood, and Michigan won. Back then when I took every game so seriously. Um, yeah, it's funny how we all grow older and mature as time goes on. Anyways, that is my experience with Virginia Tech Hokies, both at the game, going to the game, as well as some other miscellaneous thoughts and memories from the team. And if this sounds like something you'd like to go see for yourself, uh, let me know. I'd love to help you out with that. And again, if you'd like to just go on vacation, cruises are my specialty. Feel free to reach out to me. Again, you can reach out to me in a couple different ways. You can reach out to me through social media, where Jay's Paradise Travels is my Instagram and Facebook handle. JAYS. There's no apostrophe in that. Just JAYS. Jay's Paradise Travels. You can reach out to me. I also got some pictures up there. You can take a look at some of my travel stuff. And then also too, if you want to email me, you can email me, j.paradise_travels@gmail.com. Is my email address. That's jay.paradise_travels@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me in that way, as if that's better for you. But anyways, I'd like to thank you for listening in to today's episode and tuning in. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Love to have you be able to see and hear my other travel experiences. And um, if you did like it, please share this with others. And feel free to reach out to me or recommend me to a friend, family member, whether it's through the video uh, or just word of mouth. It always is helpful. Referrals are always helpful. This is and more, and not just putting out videos just to put videos out for entertainment purposes, which I hope you were entertained. But it is part of a business trying to get my name out there to be able to be your travel agent, your family, your friends' travel agent, and help make this world a happier place, one vacation at a time. So please feel free to like, rate, subscribe, put in comments anything you might have as regards your memories or thoughts for Virginia Tech. Love to chat with you on that as well. All those things that help podcasters keep their podcast going. Anyways, thank you again for listening, and I'll talk to you guys another time. Take care. Bye bye.